This episode includes a guided meditation. If you are driving, please be mindful and do not listen to this meditation while you are doing so. Always make sure to listen when you are in a safe environment where you can be relaxed and comfortable. Thank you. Welcome to Ask, Learn, Heal, a podcast to support wellness through energy healing, crystal healing, self-care, and guided meditations. I'm your host, Mary Jo Feely. Welcome to Ask, Learn, Heal. I'm Mary Jo Feely, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking with you about how to create crystal grids to support healing. It could be for your own personal healing. It could be for an intention that you have to bring healing into a situation, into your home or family, into perhaps the larger global community. Creating crystal grids is a very easy and sustainable way to be able to support healing, and it does not need to be overly complicated. Perhaps if you're like me, you've seen images or pictures of highly complex crystal grids. And yes, there are ways to do that. And my approach is always, let's make it doable, let's make it realistic, and let's make it effective. So today I decided what I would like to do is talk with you about some of the basics of what goes into creating a crystal grid. And then it's from there that you get to be the creator and you get to decide what seems to be working for you and fitting for you with what you would like to bring forth. So when we're thinking about crystal grids, we have several components, one of which is going to be some kind of a geometry to work with. So geometry can be anything from a circle, it could be a square. Often you'll hear the term called sacred geometry. And what that simply references and refers to is those naturally occurring patterns that we see in nature that have a geometric structure. So, for example, we can take a look at a honeycomb and we see the hexagonal geometry. We can take a look at a pentagram, which is a 5-pointed star, and we find that same geometry when we cut crosswise through an apple. A spiral is found anywhere from looking up at the Milky Way to watching a plant unfurl in the spring. And even if we were to cross-section a piece of cabbage, a head of cabbage, we are going to see that spiraling, unwinding type of geometrical pattern. So those are examples of what is referred to as sacred geometry, and it is a term that you will find used when we're working with crystal grids, so it's something to become familiar with and not overwhelmed by. There are 5 basic geometrical shapes that I like to work with initially when it comes to creating crystal grids. It is a square, it's the hexagon, which is like that beehive honeycomb structure, 6-sided. We have this pentagram that I already mentioned, the 5-pointed star. We have the spiral, that unfurling kind of vortex type of energy. And we also have this sense of that figure 8 pattern that we'll see, kind of like an infinity kind of movement. We see that actually if you were to slow down the way a hummingbird flutters its wings. You'll see that same type of kind of figure 8 pattern. So those are the 5 kind of basic templates that I think are really a great way to begin working with crystals and gemstones and working with the geometries of these patterns to build a grid. We also, of course, are going to want to select stones, and the stones can be as wide-ranging and widely varied as you may have available. In order to select the stones, I think one of the first things that's really helpful is to let go of any sense that there's a right or wrong way to create a grid. When I'm working with stones to support a grid, I do take a look at their healing properties. I take a look at which energies of the elements that they resonate with. Are they a stone that resonates with earth or with fire or water or wind? Are they a real transformational kind of stone that resonates with storm? And I have other podcasts that kind of talk about some of these aspects of elemental energies a little bit more intended and deeply. So we've got a grid that we select, and that geometry is going to be something that we're going to want to give some thought to. We're going to be thinking about our stones and which stones we have available, perhaps their healing properties and the elemental resonance that they have. And also, those are going to really help us as we are creating our grid. The most critical factor, I believe, in creating a grid is to have an intention about that grid. And so in just a little bit, I'm going to walk us through creating a grid, and then we'll actually have a guided meditation as well. So when we have our grid geometry selected, we have set our intention about what it is that really is something that we want to heal, and we've chosen our stones. Remember, we're not going to want to overthink the stones that we select. There's no right or wrong way of creating a grid. We're going to allow those energies of the stones and of the geometry of the grid to be able to support the intention. When I think of a square grid, and I want you to imagine a square shape in front of you, you can see that it has this sense of really balance and solidifying. So that's a great shape to work with if that particular aspect of that balancing and solidifying energy is something that you would like to call forth for the healing intention that you are going to be creating a grid around. The hexagonal grid, again, like that honeycomb, is a wonderful kind of collective energy that helps bring in some protection and a great cleansing. It's a very kind of balanced energy of opposing forces. So we've got triangles pointing one way and we've got triangles pointing another way, and they end up creating this beautiful hexagonal shape. And so it is about grounding and connecting with the earth, as well as bringing in those energies of the spirit realm. So it's really a wonderful balancing, comprehensive shape. An infinity grid, think of that as that figure eight. It's really about wholeness and completion. There is not a beginning or an end. It really is about the balancing of both the feminine and masculine energies, those energies of resting and allowing compared to those energies of action and activity. It's that balance of light and dark, yin and yang, if you've heard of that term. So it is about being able to really support a balancing and this ongoing completion and wholeness with that kind of grid, with the infinity type of figure eight pattern. A spiral vortex, that spiral grid energy is really about getting energized. We watch a plant unfurl in the spring. There's growth going on. That's what we get with that spiral energy. We can look up at the heavens and we know that those spiraling galaxies are ever growing, ever developing. And again, that's the sort of energy that we are able to tap into when we work with spiral geometry. One of the things I like about the spiral grid is that it's through our intention that are we starting at the center of that spiral grid and kind of envisioning and sensing and intending that energy is going up and out? Or are we starting in the heavens and we're drawing that down so that the very final point where it enters the grid really strongly is in the center? So those are a couple different ways to take a look at the spiral grid. And then we have the pentagram grid, and this is a 5-sided star. It is about attraction and abundance, and it has this ability to be able to really help anchor an intention, anchor the energies of activity, and then send them back out. And actually, it's the pentagram grid that I am going to create, and we're going to walk through it so that you can get a sense of how to work with a grid pattern and the stones and the intention. So working with a pentagram grid, and I want you to imagine just in your mind's eye that you have a 5-sided star that's resting right in front of you. So we've got this energy of abundance and attraction. And now we get to decide what kind of an intention would we like to call forth with this attractive and activating energy. So for this particular grid, I have decided that I'd like to work with some stones that support communication. And when doing that, because I have an understanding of crystals and gemstones, and you very likely do too, that I'm going to want to work with stones that support that ability to communicate, that ability to have clarity in speech and action, however it is that we are presenting what we are in the process of presenting. And I want to work particularly with 2 stones, one of which is chrysocolla, which is a wonderful stone to support that open and flowing and ease in communication. And I'm going to actually place that in the very center of this pentagram 5-sided star. So imagine that you're seeing me place it right into the center. That center stone is an important stone because it helps to really hold the intention of the grid in a particular way. Now we could add any other stones around it and that would support the chrysocolla. For this particular grid, the one I'm building right now as I'm talking, is I'm going to pull in some more of that communication energy through 5 pieces of aquamarine, placing one of each of those 5 pieces at the tips or the points of that 5-sided star. So we have this beautiful chrysocolla in the center, and we've got these 5 pieces of aquamarine resting at the points or the tips of this 5-sided star. So those energies are going to begin to blend. They are going to begin to connect with each other and with the grid energy as well. If left alone, this particular grid will set itself through the energetics of the energies of the stones within about 24 hours. I like to work intentionally with a connecting process that helps connect, and I suppose in some ways you could think it's an intentional jump start to connect all of those stones that I've placed on the grid. You can use your finger. You can use any kind of a stone. I have a piece of selenite, a long piece of selenite, and what I am doing now is actually I'm going to start at that center chrysocolla, gently tap it or touch it, and then move it out to one of the points and gently tap or touch the aquamarine. Now I'm coming back to the chrysocolla. I'm touching it again, and now I'm going to the next of the 5 points, and I'm doing it again. So we're constantly going from the center stone out to the stone that's on the tip, back to the center chrysocolla, back out to the aquamarine, back to the center, back out to the tip, and then back to the center. And I've done that around the entire 5-sided star, the 5-sided pentagram. And this is allowing those energies to blend. Now, working with grids is not just setting a bunch of stones on the grid and then walking away. It is about having a process that's involved with working with this grid. And one of the things I like to do when I create a grid is I actually like to make note of the day I made it, what geometry I used for the grid, what were the stone selections, and what were some of the qualities of the stones, especially if they're stones that I'm new to and I'm just getting more familiar with their healing properties. I want to make note of that so that I can revisit this little journal entry from time to time and learn more about my grid, and also make additional notes as I come back to revisit the grid. Grids are allowed to be left alone for a very long time, or you may find that after a little while you feel like, yeah, I think I'm done with that grid, and then you can take that grid apart and then create a new grid. So I'm going to guide you through a gentle, short meditation that's going to help you have a better sense of what might be a healing intention that's arising for you. Allow a particular shape of a grid pattern to come to your awareness, and then allow yourself to begin to notice what stones or what colors of stones or what shapes of stones are beginning to move into your awareness too. And this can be done through this guided meditation, and it can be a very powerful way to help get some of that inner guidance as to how you can move forward and begin working with grids in a very simple way. It's not a complicated process. It's more of an internal emerging process. So very slowly, I'd like you to first begin to simply bring your awareness to your breath. And just allow yourself to settle into your chair or wherever it is that you may be resting. And very slowly begin to allow your mind to simply begin to open to a space of silence, of a completely filled space of emptiness. And allow a shape to become more clear to you. It could be a square or a spiral, could be a circle or figure eight, a 5-sided star, or a hexagonal grid. Allow a shape to come forth from within, and take a moment to allow that to happen. And now, as you bring your awareness to the geometry that is coming forth, ask the question, what is arising for healing? Could be for you or for another or for the wider community. And now bring your awareness to one stone. Notice the color. Notice the shape it presents as. And see yourself placing that one stone in the very center of the geometry pattern, that shape that has arisen from within. And now, bring your awareness to several other stones that you will be placing on and around your grid. They may be the same, or they may be quite different. And as your awareness becomes more clear with the stones that are being placed on the grid, place each one in turn. And notice within this space where you are creating this beautiful grid, how the stones and the energies already are beginning to feel more connected with each other. And now see yourself either with an extended finger, or perhaps another long piece of crystal. See yourself slowly connecting each of those stones that you have placed, starting with that center stone, and in turn moving from center stone to each of the other stones that you have so carefully and intentionally placed on this grid. Doing your part to support the interconnection and the integration of the stones on the grid and the energies of the geometry. And now, taking a step back, look at the grid that you have created, knowing that the intention for that which you are calling forth for healing and has been placed within this grid is now being held. And now, gently place your grid in a location within your home or on the planet where you would like this grid to continue to become stronger and support the healing intention. And now, very slowly and gently, bring your awareness back to your breath, allowing your breath to guide you back into present moment. Begin to feel your physical body resting and sitting. Perhaps you're lying down, beginning to feel the edges of your body as your spirit reconnects fully wiggling your fingers and toes a bit and taking a slow, easy breath. Very slowly and gently open your eyes. So this experience that you've just had is real. It has allowed you to be able to call forth from within the energetic realm, the subtle realm, the energies and the properties of the geometries as well as the stones and the crystals, and pulled them together to create an etheric crystal grid that is able to support healing, either for yourself, for someone else within your home or family, perhaps again globally. And knowing that you've placed this etheric, energetic crystal grid where it is most needed is a vital way to bring healing into the world and into our lives. So I wanted to offer this meditation to show you that you don't have to have a lot of stones to create crystal grids. Do not need to be barriers that are going to hold you back from exploring the energies of the geometries that we find in nature with the energies and properties of the stones that we find in nature to be able to bring a level of healing, and particularly working with gemstones and crystals through crystal grids, bringing that into your lives and the lives of those within the world. So I thank you for the work that you have done. And so as this podcast is heard over and over and over again, just imagine the number of etheric, energetic grids that are being created all over the planet. That's powerful. And I want to thank you for being part of that. Now, before I wind up this episode, I do want to make sure I let you know that there are ways that you can continue to learn about how to work with crystal grids. Certainly, I have some YouTube's on my YouTube channel that you can learn about how to work with crystals and stones, particularly grids. In my online school, which is the Center for Crystalline Healing Studies, I offer both free mini courses as well as more in-depth fee-based courses related to crystal grids, and I even have a crystal healer certification program, and through that program then some of the advanced coursework involves more complex and more highly evolved and involved types of energies that can be really helpful for, again, affecting and impacting lives either personally or throughout the world. So you may find that taking a look at that might be helpful. If you're curious about gemstone geometries, you can visit my online shop. I've got some downloadable templates that are ready to go that also come with some instructions, and you can always take a look at some of what I offer there as well. So for now, I extend to you many thanks and deep gratitude for the work that you did in creating an etheric, subtle energy grid that is going to support healing, body, mind, spirit. Thank you for now. I simply wish you many blessings. Be well.